Perfect.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay, perfect. We're getting our life together now. All right. Well, yes, I'm so excited. Look, and we have on my sorority colors. Didn't even plan this. Pink and green.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So I get the privilege of sharing this time with you with an amazing lady, amazing, brilliantly talented, just an amazing human being, an individual. Fashe and I met a few years ago at the illustrious Dallas Theological Seminary.
Yes, yes. And wow.
She was, believe it or not, Fashe was my group leader. We were doing student development, right?
We were, and I said, Lord, I don't even know what in the world we're doing. How you got me in this situation? But I felt like we all led it together. I was just like the facilitator. I was new to it, and was that your first semester, or you had been there for a while?
No, I was either first or second. Like,
okay.
Yeah, pretty new. But here's what I learned immediately. I was like, this young lady has amazing leadership skills and impeccable communication skills. I'm like, I could see why.
Oh, why. Well, I felt the same way about you. I was like, and I was grateful, especially for your maturity and your wisdom. It was great. Definitely much needed in our group.
Yeah.
We'll just go ahead and say that and leave it alone.
Yes, it was interesting.
Fascinating.
Yes, I think it served its purpose.
Absolutely.
Development.
It sure did. Human development.
Human development.
Right?
Yes.
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 Mm-hmm.
Purpose. So that's when I met Fashe. But Fashe is, first of all, she's a wife, and you've been married for over 20 years, right, Fashe?
Yeah, we celebrated 23 years in March.
What
mm-hmm.
a blessing. Yes. And what a privilege.
Yes, yeah.
20 years. So we're gonna get back to that, because that's a whole different blessing that we want to unpack.
Yes.
Fashe she's also a mother of 2 young adults.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter.
Yep.
Son.
Yes. My daughter's 23 and my son he'll be 20. Yes, my daughter's 22. She'll be 23 here a few months, and then my son will be 20.
So now I'm throwing all these numbers out at y'all, right? I know y'all shocked, because looking at her, you're like, this is a little girl. No, this woman takes care of herself, but no.
Yes.
Fashe experienced.
Yes. I'll be 46 this year. I don't really care about age. I'll be 46. I'm like, whatever. Yeah.
So Fashe is also a leader in the workplace. She's been with JP Morgan Chase for over 20 years. She's a manager leading a large group of individuals. So,
well, I've been blessed. I've been blessed to transition to individual contributor role right now, which is more a project leadership and part of the legal space. But I get to partner with even more people without having direct reports, which is a blessing. I mean, I like people, but I'm grateful.
I love it. And Fashe is also an author. And she's here for all of those reasons, because there's something we can learn from Fashe in every area of her life. But today we're really going to start off by focusing on her book. The name of it is called Intentional Dads, right, Fashe?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so Fashe, what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, so I don't have a clue as to who my biological father is. My mother didn't either. Before she passed, we talked a lot about it. Because of her lifestyle, she had a very turbulent lifestyle in growing up, and with that being said, that actually transitioned into a turbulent young adult life as well. So she had me when she was 16. She had my brother when she was 12, going on 13. She had me when she was 16, and she was just in a different life. So in summary, she did not really know who she was really engaging in as it relates to at the time that she got pregnant with me. So she did not know who my biological father was. But I have been blessed with what I call bonus dads. And so she thought she knew who my biological father was. found out that wasn't him, but he still stayed. He still gave me his last name. He still was in my life until he passed away a few years ago. And then in addition to that, God has given me bonus dads in each area and space I needed them in my life. So I have 9 bonus dads in total. But it didn't grow up in church or anything like that. So I wasn't really, I didn't get saved into my senior year, but I started learning more about God then. Fast forward into like recent years, I learned more. When I say recent, I shouldn't say recent. I learned later in my Christian walk that God also wanted us to view him as our father, and making specific promises to be a father to the fatherless, and just what he talked about, his children, adoption, all types of things. And I just said, well, Lord, let me give it a try. If I view you as my father, I believe I'll experience you more in that space as a father, right? I know you as my Lord and Savior, but I don't necessarily know that I've seen you as like my father, my dad, like that. And so after experiencing him in that capacity for some time, I started learning and seeing how he blessed me intentionally with physical fathers to actually demonstrate his characteristics and his love to me throughout my life. And that was at the time that my first bonus dad, the dad I thought was my father, he passed away, is when God gave me that revelation. And so he pretty much gave me an assignment at that time to share your gratitude by sharing how imperative it is for men to be intentional about fatherhood, and how imperative it is for people to see me as their father. I'm an intentional dad, but if they don't see me like that, they won't experience me in that way. They won't experience me in that way, and they won't connect the dots how I've been intentional about their experience, and who I put in their life so that they could feel me in that space, in that capacity. So
Amen.
I did that, and that's where we got the book from.
And Frashe, there are so many similarities with your story with your father and mine.
Wow.
Yeah,
And we hadn't even talked about him, right?
no, but so many similarities. But here's the thing that you said that's so important. Once we grab a hold of who our Heavenly Father is, that's what really matters. That's what really defines us. So even if that other area is gray and it seems uncertain and it was turbulent, grabbing hold of who He is help you to navigate through all of that. It may not erase it, but it wouldn't have that profound effect on you as you know Him as Lord and Savior and Father. So for shit, oh my God.
Yes. And like you said, because seeing him through those lenses, it makes you even see everything else different. Just like when I put these glasses on or off, I can see some things better, right? When I put my glasses on. But when they're off, I have like a distorted perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're on, I see with clarity and crisp in a different way. And it's kind of like when you pick up the glasses where he says, try these on, try seeing me as your father.
Ooh.
And when you put the glasses on, then even when you look at your earthly fathers, whether they're biological or bonus, you even see them differently because you see the situations differently. And it's like, it's the whole revelation process. Like, oh, that's what you've been trying to say. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. And so we gathered a little bit of what you want people to get from the book already. But one of the other things that I think you're touching on is so important is how we as women align with being able to help men walk in that purpose better, especially wives, but just women in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're spot on. So once we are able to see fathers and expand our perspective and elevate our perspective on how we see fathers from a heavenly perspective, and just your human fathers that you actually encounter, once we're able to see that through different lenses, when we then look and see how connected we are, how our growth, our I would say just our journey as women, whether we're mothers or we're friends or whatever, we do life with men. whether they're our friends, our brothers, our children, our husbands, our bosses, all of those different things. And so whether you are in the church or you're not in the church, whatever your foundation is, at the end of the day, we can all agree to the fact that we do life together. And so if we understand them better, right, then the better we can understand how to actually partner and journey with them, and then feed in, right? Because really, if we understand relationships are supposed to be reciprocal, right? So as I give to you, then you give to me, we fill each other, it goes like that, right? So if I am a fulfilled woman, if I feel like I'm good, the amazing thing about life is that you don't even know what you don't know until you see something better,
Yeah.
right? Because it's about experience,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm feeding, if I feel like I'm fulfilled, I can pour into another brother or my husband or whoever, even a woman. When I connect with her, like when I connected with you, I may have felt like, oh, I feel like I'm pretty solid in this area. But when I hear you and I see you move, I'm like, man, I like that. I could adopt some of that. So I didn't know it until I saw you. I saw certain things. And then I can take it and then I'm like, well, I'm interested. Let me see what I can give to her. So it's like a continuous type of feeling process. So when I learned, I've always been interested in understanding men and how they think, only because, again, how I grew up. Um, and and I also, and we'll get into that another time, but I also learned that every man that it has the opportunity to be a good father, husband, brother, etc., they don't sometimes have the know how to operate in it effectively, because my mom had dealt with a lot of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, that I also witnessed and was a part of that. And so I realized she did leverage me a lot of times to talk to men, to calm them down, so I knew how to converse with them. Fast forward, God knew that would be important, because a part of my book, I spent 2.5 years interviewing men about fatherhood, men in the U.S. and men outside of the U.S. And God told me no one was exempt. So he had me do demographics. I had to make sure that I had as many races, as many age groups, all the way from, I didn't get a lot of people in the 20s, but all the way through mid 70s. I didn't even know backgrounds as it relates to their faith background. He told me to ask them. Some people I never would have thought about asking what their faith was. So I had agnostic, atheist, Christian, Muslim, men that don't have a job and been in prison and jail, to men that run corporations. And so what God was saying that was helping me understand is that there's something that men are going through, that if you women understood it better, you would understand how to partner better. And even to the question he had me, I only had 13 questions that he had me ask. And one of them was, do they see God as a father? Which was interesting. And then, how do women help you? And how do we hinder you? Because we're doing one or the other, right?
Okay, I want to ask a couple, two things. Well,
Mhm.
one question, one is a comment. So I know your husband played an integral role in you transitioning in this way too, because he showed you a different kind of man.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's a connection between God bringing him in your life and you being able to split the block in terms of how you saw fathers, because you saw a different man. And what you said about women not understanding fathers, I think that's so true about us in terms of how we understand men. Like it really shocks me when I see generally as women, there are basic things we don't know and understand about men.
Right. And it's not even, yeah, and it's not even just like coming to a realization like one time. It's being constantly interested in learning people in their different phases, like you said, because just like the Lord, because I think that's what he's trying to teach us, is when he says keep your eyes on me, or keep your focus on me, he's trying to say stay engaged and interested about me, right? So that you can experience this adventure with me. Men do the same thing. If you stay engaged and interested, you learn things about them, things that that you realize, oh man, this was a wound and I can help in this area. Or this is something that he has in him that I needed, was a missing part of me. Again, it's not all the way always about romantic relationships. Sometimes it's platonic, brother, father, partner, coach, it could be a myriad of things. You may be supposed to, God may have purpose for you to be like a mother figure or auntie. And sometimes because we don't understand that as women, we try to grab it, we try to turn it into something else, right? Something that God didn't intend. And then we wonder why it didn't sometimes work out. And so it's just really trying to level set and say, okay, Lord, coming back to what you said earlier, which is really starting with God. What is this relationship, right? What's the purpose of it? I may think, oh, he's fly. Oh, he's amazing. I wanted us to connect. And God may be like, girl, bye. I meant for you to be in his life for this, right? And because I didn't level set on that with God, I try to make it to be something else. Then I feel rejected by a man, right? Because that wasn't what he was looking for in me. He was, and when he said, I just wanted to be friends, I'm like, well, what do you mean if this is not going anywhere? And then it's a lot of things that us women we deal with. We can go into different paths, but the summary is, like you said, understanding who we are in connection with them is directly tied to understanding and staying connected with God, so we can figure out, okay, Lord, what is this about, right? And my husband, like you mentioned, he was my friend for years. My husband and I had been friends. I met him the year I graduated from high school, 97, and we were friends for years. We only saw each other five times in person before he asked me to marry him. And we actually have a podcast we'll be launching, so we'll connect on that too, dynamics of love and marriage, and we'll be talking about our situation. But it was amazing because the way that God unfolded that was unlike any other relationship I had ever experienced. But he was my friend we talked on the phone and just were like platonic friends about two years. And he gave me guy advice. I gave him advice about women. And the thing is, that was what we saw it as. I think we thought the distance was going to be a situation, but the point is, I learned his character. He learned my character. So by the time God said, okay, now I want to do this with this relationship, I was unapologetically fâché, even the things that I was shameful about in him as well.
Wow.
You know.
So that relationship was based on so much truth and
There you go.
yeah, which is the bedrock and foundation. I mean, just be authentically you. And I think those are the best opportunities to create beautiful relationships. But when you have that chance, and I don't think oftentimes, even when we meet people that may be someone that has the characters and quality, because we rush, like you said, so quickly, we don't give it time to blossom.
We don't. And we don't kind of learning what I learned from a lot of the men. I believe that right now, any of the men that I interviewed so I have a whole chapter. Chapter 3 is just straight talk, no chaser, is what it's called. Feedback from men about fatherhood. And it's a simple chapter. I ask them a question, I give you their responses. I asked them, what do they feel about fatherhood? What brings them joy? What makes them fearful? What are their relationships? What was their relationship with their biological father? How did it shape them? What are some things they would want other men to know? How do women help them, and how do we hinder them in their experience? All of those different things help me really listen in a different way to men. Some of the times when they said things that would help them from us or would hinder them, I didn't even think it was a hindrance. But when I was interviewing men, I had already been married 19 years. So when some men, I interviewed my husband, but when I interviewed other men, I was like, why is that a hindrance in my head, right? But God would say, shut up, Sashay, just ask the question. Because I couldn't record. So I'm gonna tell you these things. I couldn't record. I had to write everything. I had to listen intently. Because what God was teaching me was that I needed to create a safe space for them to share their feedback. And if I were to interrupt and say, well, or start to combat, not intention. I mean, I don't think we mean to be combative initially. We're just trying to clarify sometimes. But even that I had to be locked in with the Lord, because if I would have asked something that would have been perceived as an argumentative or defensive response, you already know, shut down.
That's the wrap. honey.
It would have been it. And so, but then who would have lost? I would have lost because I learned so much insight. They were trying to impart in me. Here's what I've asked. You've asked me a specific question, not anybody else. This interview is with me. And I'm telling you, this is what I feel is a hindrance. And if I were to say, well, I feel like you're not seeing that right, right?
Be in the mirror then.
Right. Then why are you interviewing me, Fashay? Right. And that was that was a lesson learned because God also taught me, Shay, all you have to do is ask, even in your questioning, not interrogation, because I have been told from my husband and my son that mom, sometimes your questions are interrogating, like, but that's even a lesson learned. I was like, what? I'm just collecting information. But that, even them sharing that feedback, them being feeling safe enough where I've given them experience for them to tell me where I won't be like, don't tell me whatever. When I went and started talking to other men who may not have given me as much grace, they would have shut down.
Yeah.
I was able to say, okay, Shay, ask this question. You have a follow-up question, but be careful because you don't want it to be misperceived. And most of the time they would come around and share, once I share even more insight, that gave me the understanding that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just needed to give them time to share it.
Yeah.
Because they process differently. Most men, a lot of men, let me just say, and women too, we don't understand the difference between extroverts and introverts. Extroverts speak to think. So we speak out loud, we hear, and then we say, oh yeah, that's why we can have 15 conversations at once and not be all over. Introverts think to speak. So when you are in a relationship, my husband's a processor. He's introvert, so he thinks to speak, and I'm an extrovert. When I'm like, okay, hey, what do you think about this? If I'm looking for what you got, brother, like, come on with it. He's processing.
You got to give him 3 days.
Yeah, and then I did learn after being married for some time. I'm also an executor. I'm like, okay, when we gotta get this done. So then I had to learn, well, hey, babe, at the same time, you're a processor, but you have to meet me because it's a partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get like 3 months to think about this. So then we have to negotiate on the time.
Mm-hmm.
So can you get me something in the next 48 hours? Then now he has his, yeah. Or he could say, well, no, I'm gonna need a week.
Yeah.
Then there's the negotiations.
That is so powerful to just be able to understand that is effective communication, understanding the styles. But again, like you said, it comes to being willing to learn and to grow in the seasons and the process to make yourself available. Pressure, what about I was just saying something you said just reminded me, like, we don't even see how much the media clouds our judgment of men and how we see men. Like, as women, we don't even realize there's been this communication in a lot of spaces cause women to see men in a negative light. And we don't even realize that that's infiltrated our minds.
Yes.
So it's infiltrated in terms of how we see them as husbands, and then definitely in how we see them as fathers. So we have a hello from Tiara Mills, my sister. Hey, sis.
I don't know you, but you're my sister too now.
Like, what do you say to women to combat that?
Yeah, so I say, it's so funny because God has me in alignment with the book doing intentional conversations, right? So along with Intentional Dads, he said, do intentional conversations because people are more into media and conversing versus reading, and I need for them to get the message, and I need for you guys to be intentional. Do things on purpose. Talk about things like what you just asked me on purpose in your whole platform. You're doing it on purpose, covering the topics God gave you, right? And you're being intentional and purposeful. And so God said the same thing applies to what we consume from social media or any media outlet. Be intentional about assessing the impact on us, right? So God in his word, he talks a lot about weighing the cost. I think number one, we're not weighing the cost of our investment. So in corporate America, we call it ROI, right? What's the return on your investment? Our investments come from someplace, right? So I'm investing time, energy, mindset, perspective, relationship, all that's on the line. If there is no fruit, if there's no return on that investment that is positive in my life, right, healthy, then I need to assess, what in the world? Why is it still a part of my life, right? So if I am constantly using social media, any of the media outlets, whether it's online, books, for even friends, if it is counterproductive, right? Meaning my relationships aren't flourishing. If I want to be a wife, if I want to be a girlfriend, if I want to be a good friend, if I want to be a great entrepreneur or business savvy, it requires me to invest, right? And then take in and apply to see if it works. Part of the application process is fruit or the lack thereof, right? And that's seen through our experience. If we then say, okay, I applied everything Fashe and Toya said, and what in the world? I ain't made no progress, right? Now it's all relative because sometimes we say we apply stuff, but we really don't. But I applied that. We applied to the extent of our comfort level, and that's the problem. That's another problem. But we have to really assess what's happening. So my favorite thing that I tell myself and I share with people is practice makes progress, right? Perfection is elusive. We're never going to attain it. No one is. So stop looking for it.
Exactly.
So it's practice makes progress. So I need to practice. If I'm going to listen to someone on social media, it's an investment of my time. If I'm going to use it, so hopefully I'm assessing, is this useful to me? If I use it and it doesn't work, I need to assess, well, that didn't work out too well. I shouldn't be doing that again. Or I assessed it and I really didn't do it. I didn't do nothing until you told me. I mean, I did like 50%, like be honest. and then, but that's assessment, right? And when you assess it, then you can weigh the cost. God talks about it all the time because everything costs us something. It's going to cost you your relationship. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you your own self-care, because you can start feeling like you're rejected or something's wrong with you when you don't have proper assessment happening and sounding boards, right? Because other people that you trust and creates a safe space, but a person that can give you both compassion and course correction, because sometimes we just want somebody to listen and we don't want to be corrected, right? But because then we say it's judgmental. Reality is sometimes it's an assessment, right? If the fruit is not right, then it's not judgment, it's the reality. That's what we're measuring.
Grateful for it.
Right? So I think that, going back to what you asked again, whether it's social media, wherever we are, whatever we're taking in, whatever we're nourishing with, right? Eating through our eyes or whatever, it has the ability to then create some kind of fuel inside of us, right? Just like food does, that hopefully will energize us to do something, to operate, right? To practice. So if we're taking in nourishment from social media and the output is counterproductive, if we keep doing it, then that's what we're going to keep getting at. If we sometimes, again, if we assess it, we can properly say, well, is it what I took in? Like, is it my filter? Is it the person I'm listening to? Is it whatever? Whatever it is, you can just assess and then change it. And so that's what my encouragement is. That's what I try to do throughout my life, even with my husband and my family now. I'm pretty much an open book. So I'm learning more about this menopause situation that we're going through, right? And I say we, because this is a whole family affair. Ain't nobody escaping this. And so here's the thing. I'm learning about myself. My mom passed when she was 51. And her mother wasn't around. And so because of how my grandmother had my mom when she was close to 60. So she had a stroke before she could even raise my mom. And so my mom didn't learn about these types of things.
How old were you when your mom passed away?
So my mom passed away 12 years ago. So I was, what was that? My math at 32? I don't know, 30 something. 30 something, y'all. I shouldn't work for a bank if I can't count, but that's good. They didn't put me in that department, so that's great.
All right. That is
But
amazing.
she didn't learn it. And then, you know, sometimes the older generation, they don't talk as they didn't have a lot of media as well, but they don't talk a lot about perimenopause and change in behavior, how you think, how you move. They talked about the hot flashes, but not even brain fog or
Growing up, that's all. I thought that's all it was, but it's so much.
Yeah, I'm learning it's something else. So I'm like, hey, why don't we all just go on this educational type of thing? And yeah, that's what we're doing. But the thing is that I share that to say I had to assess myself. I had to assess how it's going to impact my husband. I could go through it by myself if I want to, and then say, why is nobody understanding me? Why are you not supporting me? Why, you know what I mean? Or I think my firm is amazing. They actually have a whole site for us. They created for menopause and perimenopause. Yeah, because we've learned that 50% of our employees with the firm globally are women, and 30% are at menopause, perimenopause.
Men are like, now look, we got to do something about this.
Come on, right? Some ain't right, but this is smart. See, and it's an investment. This is what I'm coming back to. It's an investment. So what they learned is that we are going to invest, right? Because there's an investment in insurance, employee leave of absence, the dynamics of relationships between people. You see, because there are for real impacts, just like there are for real impacts for men that go through. There should be called menopause, but they're called midlife crisis.
Right.
But men on pause, right? But they're losing testosterone, and that is troubling to them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the point is that the firm has decided to invest so that they can educate. The more we educate, we can assess to help ourselves. We can either apply what they're sharing or not. My husband, my family, even anything my husband goes through, my point is invest the time to understand yourself, figure out what media or informative outlets you want to use, and then share it, and then have other people outside of you assess if you're actually growing or how you're vibing, because again, you can't see yourself from an outside perspective. If you are becoming toxic and irritable and argumentative and don't nobody want to be around you, then it's probably not working well for you.
Right. Facts. This is so true. But for Shay, I saw some statistics on your book about it being the 3% I was doing my research, at the company that published it.
Yes, I was the third. Oh my gosh, girl, don't get me to telling you any lies. I can't see. This is the problem. I can't remember stuff. But it was like the third book, purchase book, third something. It's horrible. In the with the publishing company that I went through, which is amazing. It's called Water. It was number 3 on their list. Yes.
Yes, I was like, so where should we go to get the book? Where should they go to buy the book?
You can go. The book is sold everywhere. Amazon probably is the easiest. Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, Walmart online. It's at all of those places. How any published book works when it's published in the Library of Congress, any bookstore can order it because it's print on demand. But the easiest is probably Amazon. And then if you're interested in connecting I'll share something else with you guys. I have the book right here. In the book, I have QR codes. You see that? So these are videos, and these are videos where I go over what is in the chapter. And so I tell you,
That is powerful.
It was amazing when God told me to do that. I said, how am I supposed to do that? And then what did he do? He sent the right people that knew, and we all did it together, and we all learned, because none of us had done it before, but it's here, it's manifested. So if you go to YouTube, and you have to use the @ symbol. So @IntentionalDadsMovement, that is the channel name. @ symbol, IntentionalDadsMovement. if you go there, all of the videos that I've been doing, lives and videos that correspond with the chapters, are out there. And so God has me doing that for the rest of the year. I do it every first and third Tuesday of the month.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Fashay, this has been enlightening. It's been just uplifting.
Well,
I had this time with you. It's been beautiful. Look,
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I will share with you guys on the YouTube videos. I also invited guests. So I invited men and I asked them questions live. And I also interviewed my children, just because they're the fruit of our parenting, right? So if we're
right.
going to be intentional about parenting in general, we need to ask them as well. So I'm grateful again for the opportunity to connect with you. Of course, I look forward to more connection opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, we're going to have a good time.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Fashay, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And like you said, we'll definitely be staying in touch to see how God wants to continue to use us together for his glory.
Absolutely, absolutely. All about his good works and making it happen. So thank you so much. You have a great evening and continue to do what you're doing. It's phenomenal. I love your transparency and your candid delivery style in conversation. I think it's what we need today. And so just keep up the great work.
Thank you, Fashay.
Absolutely. All right, lovely. Talk
Okay.
to you later.
Yes, ma'am.